everybody, and welcome to another episode of Design Cinema. This is Feizu speaking. This is episode 85, and it's been like 10 years since we recorded a new episode. Probably because I've been super busy lately with just way too many projects and things going on. I'm also working on a movie these days, and that's taking up quite a bit of my time. So I apologize for the long delay, but let's jump right into episode 85. And you are now watching a frozen YouTube screen. Oops, see, there's something going on right there. This is actually in real time, so we're gonna just let's do something a little bit more casual, so that way I can get this thing recorded. It is Friday morning. Just got into the office. Let's spend the next I don't know, 2-3 hours to try to get this thing recorded and available for you guys. So I'm not gonna bother too much with editing and making things nice and slick for this episode. Let's just do it in real time as much as we can, so that way I don't have to do a audio follow-up. So all right, so what are we doing? Let's draw. I think the feedback from the previous episode 84 was quite positive in terms of kind of design thinking and the stuff that goes behind the scenes of a particular design. So, and you guys request a lot of character stuff, but I'm gonna do a creature design for this episode, and maybe we'll do a character one for the next one. So, because creature is a little bit easier to tangle, a lot more freedom in terms of the kind of stuff we could do. So I thought that'd be kind of a nice warm up, mostly because I don't feel like working super hard today on this episode. My brain is pretty fried from the last 4 days of just designing every single day from like 9 a.m. all the way to about 8 p.m. or so. I mean, the whole day straight up designing. Pretty much fried my brain. So let's just do something kind of fun. All right, let's put something on screen. Otherwise, you guys are just staring at a gray piece of background here. So what are we doing? Here's a little title. We're gonna design a creature / boss character that I found online. Yesterday I was doing a demo for our students here, and I used the same theme, which is I looked up some mythological creatures or demons and all sorts of things from Japan. There's just hundreds of them. You could go to Wikipedia and look them up. Just type in mythological Japanese creatures or something. You get like a whole list of them. And some of them are just so interesting that they're begging for to be designed into like into a game. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I think it'll be quite fun. And the creature I decided to do here is called the Gashadokuro. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is a giant human skeleton, which I'll put up some references for that in a second here. So let's first do some design notes, because it's a continuation of last week, or last episode. So let's give ourselves some specs. So again, this is real time, so there's no fast forward here. Hopefully you guys don't mind this episode. I have no idea how long it's going to run for, but let's keep going here. So I'm going to keep this kind of a dark theme, and this is part of I think a creature like this will exist in a game that you're probably already thinking of, which is probably something like Dark Souls, and the new one's coming out pretty soon, Dark Souls 3. We'll get back to that game in a second here, but it's made from Software, which is very dark, gothic, a lot of evil elements and these type of things. And I thought it'd be pretty cool if that's the aim we want to go for, right? Which is we're aiming it for a project similar to that type of thing, like Bloodborne and so forth. So what's our specs here? We want a boss character or creature. I don't know what this falls under. It's kind of both, I guess. We have to follow the spec, which in the traditional sense is just a giant human skeleton, really. But we're gonna make it our own. This is important, so we don't just kind of refurbish something that exists before, which is not a bad thing. We're gonna try to keep maybe 80% or 85% of what the spec or the original design says, and then we'll add our own 10 to 15% of changes according to what we need for gameplay reasons. And this part of it right here, the third one here, which is we don't want to make this super giant. In the traditional sense, I think in the later I'll show you some of the reference images. If you have like a little island right here, like a landscape, the dude is like this big. It's huge. It's like this giant skeleton. Well, there's versions of them being ginormous like that, and this is a little house right here, something like that, which is pretty cool. But it's pretty big for a third-person hack game, because your character is like that big, right? So you have to like put the camera that high to see it. It's kind of cool, but let's make it a little bit smaller, maybe something around this scale, if that's a character right here. So that way you can see the whole character or creature within the single camera shot. All right, so that's sort of what we're gonna do. Next, let's go into our references. So I put up just a few really quickly this morning. Went to Google, typed in the Gashadokuro, and ended up with some of this stuff plus some human skeleton references. So this looks like a pretty old painting done for this creature, and you can see it's a pretty giant skeleton. There's other forms of this one's actually not super big. This one's actually within the scope of what we want to do, and you can see it's just a human skeleton. There's nothing more extraordinary other than that it's a big human skeleton. Here's another one. I'm not sure if this is an ancient painting or not, but it looks pretty cool. It looks like it's framed in someone's artwork. Pretty cool looking, but it's got a traditional feel. I didn't pull in any modern version of this thing. This one actually looks kind of modern, judging by the character design. But I try to avoid modern concept art of this, so we don't get influenced too much from other people's work. We want to make sure that we stay traditional to the spec of this giant skeleton, but at the same time, we come up with our own solutions. Other than, oh look, that guy did a version of this, it looks kind of cool to just like copy him. So we don't want to get into that realm either, because that won't make our clients very happy. Let me take a sip of water here. I'm so hoping the audio is recording correctly, because I'm just like sitting down, hitting record, and I'm just gonna go and do this. So if something screws up, then that'll suck big time. So anyways, and I put some reference to real human skeletons, because that's a good starting point since it is a human skeleton. And then we'll talk our way into the various design directions we could take this guy. So on a quick note, earlier I brought up the Dark Souls stuff. So I actually worked with those guys on some projects last year, From Software. But legally, I'm not allowed to tell you guys what those are. So but it was great. It was fun working with those guys, and I put up a little photo here just to show you guys some fun stuff that last year, actually earlier this year, I went to visit them in Japan as well, From Software in Tokyo. So I stopped by, chatted with the art directors and producers and so forth. They're a cool studio. Check them out. Like the whole building is like From Software. It's pretty hard to find where they are, but you get off at a certain station and blah blah blah. You walk and you find this building. It's like the whole thing is like From Software. At the time they were working on Bloodborne. It wasn't shipped at the time when I visited them. So now of course the game is out. So this is early, I think in January or so. It was super cold, and I thought this was a fitting photo because I'm wearing a skeleton on my shirt there, and we're about to draw a human skeleton, and it's a project similar to maybe what they do, so it'll be quite fun. So anyways, I'll hide that. Let's not look at pictures of myself here. I think that's kind of dumb. Okay, so let's keep the references up and let's start sketching, man. So let me start a new layer right here. Boom. Okay. I'm just gonna start working like right on this page. So I probably mentioned this before, but the way I like to work is very organic, which is here's my references, here's some of my notes. I'm just gonna draw right on here. This is Photoshop after all. This is a digital software. You don't have to be like, let's start a new page, right? Let me just visually write this down so you guys are not just looking at listen to me talk. Let's put something down. Because this kind of thing where you put down a white piece of paper like this is really scary because it's so clean. Let me write this down, right? It's super clean, there's nothing on it, and now you have 100% expectation to make this page look good. And for someone with not a lot of experience, that's really intimidating. Actually, even for someone with a lot of experience, it's still very intimidating because you're starting the day with a zero, blank page, and you're asked to fill it with awesome stuff that's gonna make everybody happy and make your clients all like, well, that's awesome, and you have nothing to start with. So it's a little scary. So what I like to do now, excuse me, nowadays is mess this up a bit. Have a piece of paper and just like blah, put some stuff on it. In this case, I have notes and reference images, and sometimes I read my brainstorming stuff, just whatever ideas I have on the page. So it's just kind of messed up, put some lines across it. So now you're working with a kind of a messed up piece of paper, and it just takes that intimidation away. At least for me, it does. It helps a lot. So yeah, let's just start sketching on these. I don't even separate these out into too many layers. All right, so fundamentals is important. Oh, before I even get to this, let's talk about, yesterday I had a student ask a really good question, which is how far do you stray from the design spec, right? Which we wrote right over here. Let me write this out. Design spec. You know what? I should probably keep track of my time. What are we at? Okay, we're about 10 minutes in. Okay, design spec. So how far do you stray from that, or how far do you keep it? Now, so in this case, let's write this down, right? So we're pretending our client is something like From Software. They want an evil boss character for the player to fight. So that's what we're trying to get at. And so let me just rewrite it here real quick. Design spec, and essentially doing a giant human skeleton, right? Human skeleton. All right, so that's what we're doing. So the way I like to kind of break this stuff down in terms of like how far can you reach, how much can you change, like at what point is it no longer a human skeleton, which will probably never go that far. But there is the traditional sense of let's just draw a giant human skeleton. There's nothing, we don't change anything, it's just scale it up. That's all we do. But we also like to inject design. So what I like to do is do 3 passes or 3 variations minimum. The first one is what I call the client safe. Okay, this is the version that kind of is your insurance if you want to think about it. That, oops, with the E, right? Insurance. Okay, this is the one that no matter what you do for the other 2, you have one that is absolutely sticking to spec. It's generally the more default version or the expected version. So in this case, if you just draw a giant human skeleton kind of crawling around and maybe have some moth or something grow on it or something like that, you're pretty good to go. That is the default super safe version. Now with a client like that, who knows, but at least you're playing by the rules for the first one. You're not going to piss anybody off. The feedback they could get you is like, oh, we've seen this before, but at least they know that you're not playing games with them. You're not like, oh man, I'm going to change it so it's no longer a human skeleton. My interpretation of the Gasha Dokuro is a giant flower with the spirit of a skeleton trapped inside and lives in the island of something, right? They're like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You know, we want a giant human skeleton. So this one kind of keeps it on spec. And now you can start changing this slightly as you go to the second and third. So the second one will be my version, will be client plus your version. So not my version, just write your version. But we still don't want to stray too far from the formula. So the client, what do they want? They want a giant skeleton, right? Right? That's what they want. Okay, so what can we add to that just changes it slightly towards a slightly different direction, but we don't destroy the spec. It's still going to be a giant skeleton. For perhaps, let me just write off this top of my head here. I'm thinking maybe it has multiple arms. Freaking can't spell this morning. Multiple arms / legs. Okay, we can even go as far as multiple heads. That's a big risky one, but maybe. Okay, and maybe scale some of the smaller arms down. Basically, what I mean by that is like he has the major skeleton, so it's like you know, here's a little rib cage, right? And then he has like little baby arms or something like that to pick up the to fight with you, because you know there's the player character right there about that big. You got the little sword. He uses this big arm to kind of smash you, but maybe it's got little arms that could pick you up or throw dead bodies at you or something. So this is kind of adding a little bit more to the original default design of this creature, but still within spec. Like it looks like a skeleton as a silhouette with little more changes to it. So this is the version that maybe the clients think this one's too default. They'll be like, hey, this version is kind of interesting. Or maybe not, they can always go back to default. So the third one will be basically your vision or version. Okay. Now, of course, you don't want to stray away. You can't be like, oh, my interpretation is now back to a giant sunflower, and the sunflower has the spirit of a skeleton or something. You know, that's just way outside of spec. Most likely it's still a giant skeleton of some kind. But now it's like, okay, what else can we do? Maybe it's like we'll play around with materials. So instead of making made out of bones, maybe it is something else. So things like material, texture, scale we already mentioned over here, but we'll put it down here again. Okay, we could be like silhouette. So it doesn't, maybe the silhouette is slightly different than a human skeleton. We'll have to mess with that and so forth. And these are things sometimes I decide as I start sketching as well instead of that. So this kind of gives us a nice range, at least 3. Now if you could do 6, you could do 8, that's even better, but at least 3. And our insurance gives us a lot of protection against the clients coming back to you and go, what the heck were you doing, man? This is completely off spec. So, and that's the way I like to work as well. Like right now I'm gonna start my little initial sketch here, and I'm gonna start with probably the default look. Just at least get it started so we have something that's to spec, and also it helps morale, right? Like if you have a giant skeleton drawn, it looks kind of decent, at least you got the default one done. Now we just have to go forward from there, but you can never go backwards. At least you have one that's somewhat decent, hopefully. Let me drink more water here. All right, so let's start sketching our default one out. Okay, let's talk about fundamentals real quick. So I put a horizon line here. The horizon line I put here is to kind of place the player's head. Remember, this is like a Dark Soul type of game where you're about 6 feet tall or something like that. So what essentially this does is establish the player character height. By putting the eye level here, now everything I do is looking up. So if I draw my skeleton in this range, he's going to automatically appear bigger to you, the viewer, and exactly the same to the player who sees it. Versus, for example, we use a camera with a high horizon. For example, that's the horizon line here, and we do our VP points this way. Well, by doing it this way, let me just draw a really quick thing so you can see what I'm talking about here. If I draw a skeleton in this range, no matter what, this guy's like crawling, it's like, oh, help me, you know. Okay, say like something like this, right? There's his head. Okay, the horizon's here, so the only way to get this camera shot, and our player character is about something like this, holding a sword, right? The only way to get this shot is if I'm either on the balcony or I'm on a ladder, because my horizon line's up here, right? So for a character to be at that level to take this photo, you can see if I go back down to the ground line. Okay, here's the ground line, G, horizon line, back to ground line. Okay, the only way to get this photo is if I'm on a giant ladder, like so, and I'm up here because the horizon has a place to camera, right? So here's a photographer, either like that or I'm on a balcony. Now you could do it like this, you could take a shot like this, but it makes the skeleton guy look very small because I'm looking down at him. He's no longer powerful. I'm supposed to be designing a boss character, which I just wrote way up here, and a boss character in this case, especially as a big skeleton, should be intimidating. So I'm going to place my camera just like what a photographer would do in the best position to show off the characteristic of this creature. And in this case, I think by putting the camera low or to player horizon, it's going to show off my skeleton quite well. So anyways, enough talk. Let's start sketching this thing. All right, so let's start with the default. So I'm going to start with just human skeleton. I'm going to start really rough, okay? Because we can always clean. Digital software is awesome for that type of thing because it allows you to. Let me just move this guy over real quick so I can see my references as I sketch here. All right, good. Anyways, back to the point. Digital software like Photoshop allows you to kind of constantly clean and change stuff. So you don't have to worry or stress out like this first sketch has to be awesome. This has to be like the best drawing ever because, you know, it's a white piece of paper and I have to make it badass. No, you don't have to, man. You could just freeform, think, design, sketch, doodle, mess around, whatever it takes to start to get your idea down. So yeah, I work really loose on this kind of stuff. All right, so let's do the spinal cord. Let's make this guy kind of in a crazy pose like this. So I'm gonna break his anatomy slightly, not in the sense of you know, changing, giving him multiple hips and things like that, but I'm talking about his pose. He's gonna be a little bit more, see this guy, they all seem to be bending over, grabbing somebody because that's the traditional description of him. I think he grabs like travelers and sucks their soul or blood or something like that, and then add their bones to himself, which in these pictures doesn't actually show that, because if you read the description, it says that he takes the skeleton of all the people he killed and kind of attach it back to his own body. And I thought that's a cool look, and we'll save that for our own version, maybe 2 or version 3. This one, he doesn't have any additional bones. So all right, let's do that. Got a shoulder pad or shoulder blade. Whoa, what the heck was that? Oh, you know what? Because I have the wire of the microphone on my keyboard. It pressed something. You put it into like the anti-alias mode or something like that. Okay, so let's do that. This guy could be a little bit bigger. Let's get him up a bit. I'll probably draw a few of these, and then maybe we'll take it offline in terms of the real time, so that way we don't spend the next 40 minutes or something just drawing skeletons. That is probably pretty weird here. Let's put the hip over here. Let's get the arm first. Let's make it so it looks, he's looking down at us, more evil. Bam, bam, bam. He's got a neckline there. Other side, the shoulders. This is where his elbows go, or arm. Give it a huge bone. And I'm just looking up at the reference right there to just sort of loosely see where the the human bones are. We could get away with a pretty high level error here because we are dealing with something that's not existing. I mean, it's not real. Yes, it's human skeleton based, but we don't necessarily have to stick with the absolute reality of the human anatomy for this one. We do want to play with the scale and play with the distribution of the various forms to achieve what we want to do, which is make this guy kind of creepy looking. Let's drop this guy to the ground. I think right now his hip is a little too high, so I'm just going to go ahead and take a giant eraser and just ditch that. And we get back to this. Boom. All right, put the little hip bone there. Spinal cord goes back inside there. And this is the kind of stuff when I do my demos for my students, I also mention this, is like you look at things like this, like, man, that's a crappy sketch, man. That is like done super fast and it's all loose and stuff. How does something like this become concept art? It's time. That's all. It's time and patience, because the most important part of design is the form. All right, let me flip my canvas real quick. Once you have the form, everything else becomes much easier to do because you have the overall design done. Now all it takes is time to clean them. That's all you need to do. So for someone maybe who's not in the industry for a long time, this drawing looks completely crappy and loose. But for someone in the industry for a long time, this is actually the most important part of the process, because professionals are able to clean things up. They could paint something photoreal if they wanted to. They could clean it up to a super tight line drawing if they wanted to. All of those, basically the only factor stopping them is time. That's it. The hardest part is what the heck do you put down on paper? That is the hardest, and the rough drawing essentially is that phase. So that's what this is doing. It defines the form, it defines the posture, the scale, the proportions. All that stuff is defined at this stage. So even though it might look crappy, and it is, I mean, it looks crappy visually, but it actually holds the most important part of your design. And the rest just becomes really easy if you know how to clean stuff up and given the amount of time to do so. So don't be afraid if your stuff is loose like this. But of course, for someone practicing this, you have to have the patience to, once you have this, to clean things up. And that could take you anywhere from like say 2-3 hours to say up to 16, 17, 20 hours to clean something up, depending on your skill level. And that is completely within the realm of this business. Right? So when our first students first get here, I think most they spend an average of maybe 3-4 hours or something like that. Maybe even not that, I think. But you know, let's just say 3-4 hours a day sketching. Then they realize, man, to get it into a really good comfortable zone, you have to be spending something like 18-19 hours doing this stuff every single day. And line drawings, to clean them up, takes something like that, especially if it's a complicated drawing. So that's all part of the game. For this one, I have no idea how far I'll take it. I'll probably just clean up the sketch to be a presentable level, and then we'll just end it there, because I think this is a fun exercise, and it's mostly just easier for me to get this episode recorded. Otherwise, if you're gonna do this photo reel and things like that, I just don't have the time for it. All right, at least for now. And I think a nice casual. This guy looks like he's about to run a 100-meter race, actually. But let's just start with that. Who cares, right? Let's be loose. Thumbnails. The whole point of thumbnail is to explore and think, sketch. All right. So this guy is super default. Like essentially, I just drew a skeleton about to run a 100-meter race. That's about it. He's not special. He's not. There's nothing really stands out about him. It's just a skeleton, really. He's got some exaggerated feature, like his shoulder blade is like the traditional way would be like that. I'm making this go up just to break the silhouette a bit, but that's actually, that's not correct and things like that. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not sticking exactly 100% to spec here. We just want to get warmed up. Let's just warm up with the skeleton. All right, get his arm in. There's actually 2 bones in here, but for now, don't matter. All right, this guy's actually looks kind of weak. He's really skinny looking. So let's do the next one, right? Looking at that, it's like, okay, let's do another default sketch, but this time, let's start a new layer so that way we could just keep drawing here. All right, let's put it over here. So same thing, horizon line established. You guys are probably hearing all sorts of keyboard clicks and stuff like that, but can't help with that. I like keyboards that has a nice feedback to it. I don't like the soft keyboards. Maybe some of you guys have those soft keyboards. Like you press it, it makes no sound or it makes no click. I'm like old school, man. I like keyboards that has that little feedback of the noise, like when you hit it. So I'm actually using a very high-end PC with a really cheap keyboard because the expensive keyboard sometimes they get rid of the noise. I actually don't like it, so I replaced it with this like $15 keyboard that just nice clicks when you click on it. All right, so anyways, let's draw another one. So I'm gonna start with a profile of the skeleton or the skull, and so this one I want to do a girthy version of the previous one and maybe make his pose a bit more aggressive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the bones a lot thicker. All right. Man, look at that. It's like 25 minutes in already. So real time, I mean, that's unfortunately that's eats up a lot more space because things have to be figured out as I go here. All right, so let's see. I want to give them a little bit of a hump. That's kind of creepy, right? Like it's kind of like a hyena or something like that when they're hunting. You get this kind of crazy pose. All right, so this guy, I'm gonna make it much more girthier. Oops, wrong button. Bloop. It's just flipping the canvas. I have a hotkey for flipping canvas. It's a F4. Somehow I press F5, which makes that other little thing up here. Okay, what is that? Let's not do that. Okay, so here's the rib cage. Kind of goes in. Bam. And working on this now, talking to you guys is a little hard to get into the mood because you know I have voice going here. But if I'm working on this on my own, I'll probably put on some music that fits the theme, which helps me a lot, or something that has a nice theme that gets me in the mood, at least in the beginning stages. Once I have the thumbnails done, then I could start listening to podcasts and all sorts of random stuff. But in the beginning stages, a lot of these kind of projects, I like to get myself into the right zone. So if this is for a kind of an evil game or something Dark Soulish, maybe you put some harder music on, maybe some metal music or something like that, just to get you into the mood. Maybe some very gothic like tunes or soundtracks from various films or vampire movies. You know, who knows? You put some of that stuff on just to get you into that creative mode. So you're drawing. It's almost like your pen is like an extension of your feelings and the aggression and whatever you're feeling in this design is coming out right through your pen, right? I don't know what this thing is. I'm making his clavicle area like really, really massive. Maybe it can hold like some kind of power inside. Right, so now I'm starting to mess with the anatomy a bit, mess with the bone size. All right, let's make this guy crawl more like creepy. So I'm gonna make this bone really, really big here, just to exaggerate that. Bam. Some contour lines. Other sides over there. Actually, it's over here. This is on horizon line. All right, let's flip it again. Make this like really, really big. I will make this hand like about to like grab the player. Rawr, coming in. All the little bones in the hands. Alright, so it's very, very exaggerated in terms of the thickness of the bones and things like that. But this is what design is all about: having fun, exploring, finding the solutions, sketch, draw, write notes, listen to music, whatever it is to kind of get your brains going and arrive at fun shapes. End of the day, this is all for fun. It's all for video games and movies and things like that. None of this stuff really exists. What you're trying to do here is to entertain people. So if you're entertaining yourself and you're coming up with some pretty cool things, well, most likely you're going to be entertaining other people out there as well. So yeah, let's add some hair. That's kind of cool. Why not? All right, so this arm is floaty, so I gotta make sure that this one is actually stabilized to hold himself. Let's see. Let's see. I don't want to put an elbow there because I put the elbow there, it kind of runs into my hand, which I want it to be by itself. So I'll just run this hand over like this to hold himself up. This guy's doing like a one-hand push-up. Boom. Put the hand in this posture, like a monster posture. You know, it's like you always see in like werewolves and mummies and stuff. They always hold their hand in like this cool pose. You know, this pose like here, like zombies have this pose too, like that, like this bent in the wrist, something like that, or it's like it's closed, so it's all angry. It's like like that. So this it's like making a fist, but then you still have this bend on the elbow there. All right, let's draw this. Okay. Check our time. Damn, 30 minutes in already. So, all right, start sketching. I like this guy's hair. It's kind of cool. We could play with that in a variety of ways later. Now it's got nothing in the belly. Maybe we could add some stuff there. I don't want to add guts and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, maybe. But that's kind of getting into more of a grotesque realm, which is not exactly what this client deals with. You know, grotesque is a whole other type of thing, like, you know, guts coming out and all that kind of stuff, and that's starting to push the entertainment value into another realm. I think that's more like what is that game where you're trying to escape an asylum? I can't remember the name right now, but some kind of, you know, one of those kind of spooky games, and they kind of deal with that. They have things like guts and all that type of stuff. And I think a game that we're trying to target here, more like a Dark Soul type of game, I don't think they deal with that as much. They have cool monsters and things like that, but they don't deal with gore, I guess, is in a way. Even though the game is extremely dark and violent, it's a different type of violence than the Asylum game, which I just can't remember at the top of my head. All right, let's do this. Femur. I'm gonna make his shoulder blades a little bit bigger, so you can see that. So this is still really safe, okay, in terms of design. We're not trying to do anything crazy. It is still within a giant, it's just a giant human skeleton, man. That's about it. See, this one's like the weak one, this one's like a thicker version. It's starting to get kind of cooler, and it's also warming up. You know, again, I just came in literally into the office like 20 minutes ago, sat down, haven't drawn anything since yesterday, right? So your first sketch sometimes is a little weak and sucky, so you kind of have to warm up a bit here. And this will get better and better as the day where the sketch goes forward. Hopefully, who knows? I haven't even had my coffee yet because it's too early right now. Our coffee machine's still not even turned on, I think. So I gotta go and grab some of that later. I'll probably end up doing is I'll sketch like 2, 3 more, right? So we'll maybe hit like the 40-minute mark or something like that. And what I'll do is I'll go and just sketch a bunch more, so that way you guys can sort of see how this comes together, and then I'll show you a little bit of cleanup. So we'll skip some of it, like the cooking show thing that I sometimes do, so we don't bore you guys. But hopefully you guys are drawing along as well. You know, go to Wikipedia, find like a crazy mystical monster. There's just crazy stuff, man. It's like giant chicken and ghost that steals your clothes, and they have all sorts of random stuff. It just sounds like a lot of fun. And just pretend your client is, say, From Software or Capcom or something. You're working on Devil May Cry or Castlevania or Persona or something like that has these kind of crazy creatures in it. And sketch, have fun, put good music on. It's weekend's coming up anyway, so really, I mentioned this many times before. It's like sometimes younger kids trying to get into this business are way too stressed, way too harsh on themselves. Like, look, man, we're in the entertainment industry, man. Our job here is to make fun stuff. You gotta be in a nice, fun, relaxed mood as part of it to remind yourself why you're here in the first place, right? It's like, for me, it's like every time I draw these kind of things, I'm thinking like Final Fantasy VII and Chrono Trigger, Nintendo, freaking Rob the Robot and Duck Hunt, and all those kind of memories kind of come back. And whatever it is for you, you know, that's kind of nostalgic high that when you're young in junior high school or elementary school and playing Nintendo. For you guys, maybe it's like PlayStation 1 or something, but whatever that feeling is like, that's why you are doing this, right? This is why you want to be in this business in the first place. You have to have that feeling of it's almost euphoria, right? That kind of like a natural high. At least I had a ton of that when I was younger, playing Zelda and all these kind of games, and just being in such a good mood that you're in another world, you know, like you're literally in the Final Fantasy world or something like that. That when I draw this kind of stuff, I'm trying to get that same exact feeling of the same high of, man, this is like, now I can work my make my own world exactly like the kind of experience I had when I was a kid, and just puts you in that kind of nice euphoria, and just sketch, don't stress out about it, don't get all nervous. Remember, you're not doing this for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or whatever else is happening right now, Snapchat or something. This is for you to have fun. The more you enjoy this stuff, the more you have fun with it, the better your work generally becomes. The more you're stressing out, the more you're trying to prove to somebody or something like that, the more you're going to stress out, and probably the work is not going to be as fun, because stress completely comes out in someone's drawings. You can see when something's just labored. You know, looking at students' work, you're like, oh man, you did not have fun doing this assignment, and the fun doesn't even come out. Whereas if some work is super loose, it's fun, it's a lot of creativity in there, you're like, and even if the drawing doesn't come out super good, you could tell the students having a lot of fun doing it, and generally they'll succeed in this business, because you gotta be able to do this for like 20-30 years, right? So anyways, I probably mentioned that a bunch of times, but it's so important to enjoy this process and be really passionate about it. It's like, instead of playing a video game, you want to just sketch things, then you're in a good situation here. All right, so this guy's looking kind of cool. Center line's about here. So he's just a giant skeleton as well, with somewhat of a human anatomy, but I've changed the hips a bit, I changed the shoulders a bit, just to accentuate, and of course his rib cage is all super long and twisty. So we'll probably mess with the skull for the next design. So this will be still the safe version. So let's move him over to let's move him over here. So these guys are like almost the same pose. All right, new sketch. Let's put the horizon even lower this time. I'm gonna put it like down here, so he's gonna be a little bit more even higher on the camera angle here. Boom, 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 boom. All right, some basic perspective. So for those who don't know, this is horizon line. This goes to VP1, and this one goes to VP2. All right, vanishing point. So I'm using a 2-point perspective. I'm not using a 3-point. There's no need really for things like this, and that's it. That's basic. Really basic foundation stuff, but it's so important to set that up. So I'm gonna just take a quick look at human skulls here to see, like, okay, what else can we do with it? Maybe we could offset it. Let's try. Meaning that it's not exactly symmetrical, and see what that does. All right. So this will be my kind of the second version, right? Remember I mentioned earlier, let's flip it back. So we have the client version, which will be these two. If you render this out, super safe. It's like, oh, okay, that's exactly what it should be. So now I'm gonna do the client version and my version combined. All right, so here's a boom. So let's see if we can offset this. Offsetting is always a little tricky. Asymmetry on something that should be symmetrical is always tricky, because it could turn out just to look like bad art. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, your eyeball is off, something like that. So maybe before I even try asymmetry, I'll try just messing with some of the features on here, like the teeth. Let's see here. It's always creepy. So it's all like, ugh. Maybe we can open the jaw even further. Let's open the jaw. Yeah. Make noise, make sounds, geek out, all that kind of stuff is good, man. Bam, bam. That's almost, nah, that doesn't look cool. He looks like goofy. Gotta make sure he's still, like, when you see this guy for the first time, you should look like, this guy looks kind of creepy. You know? I gotta make sure this guy looks creepy as well, and not like funny. I don't think that's what the client wants. Maybe it's like dripping stuff out of his mouth. He does eat humans and then take their skeletons, and all right. So this one, I'm gonna actually add that into the design, which is we're gonna take other skeletons and add it to this one. So it's got the main one. Oh, his skull's way too big right now. I like the hair thing. Let's see what else I could do with that. Let's see. Let's add some more spooky hair. Oh, like tangled. Just wild, like kind of some hair still attached to the top of his hair, and we could have some nice NVIDIA cloth work to simulate all this, you know, the physique stuff, which is coming in really strong nowadays. Pretty much every game nowadays are doing really nice cloth sims, so we could do it with hair and all sorts of things. this guy really creepy. So you can see here, all the hair is kind of wrapping this body in there. Just flip it to see it's still cool or not. Okay, that's kind of cool. Drawing skeletons is fun. It's like something like, especially I think young boys, you guys probably drew skeletons. I drew a bunch of bones and stuff when I was in junior high school and stuff. Just fun to draw skulls, I think. Listen to, you know, Depeche Mode and Nirvana and these type of things. Metallica. Dude, okay. So now we need a rib cage. So we have two poses that are both like running the 100-meter race. So let's change this one so it's not running a Olympic race here. Spinal cord. Bam, 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 bam. All right, shoulders here. All right, so how should we pose this guy? Let's see. He has to stabilize himself. Let's just use like sticks to try to get the pose. Actually, let's take a look at the original version. These ones are kind of like bending up. Maybe we'll do that instead. Instead of having crawling on all fours, maybe this guy is kind of sort of semi-standing, maybe. Let's see. Oh, I got it. Like kneeling down, like a squatting dude, or yeah, like a squat, like how a dog sits or something. So let's see. That's a femur here. That's gonna go up to about here. So I'm gonna make the let's see here. Let's make some decisions here. If the femur is this high, then this bone is only this short. It's gonna look kind of funny. Let's redo that. Let's put the femur here. Actually, let's put it here. So it's squatting and with his legs slightly open. So that's gonna go into perspective. The other side is gonna be here to there, which we don't see, but it's over there somewhere. Now it's gonna give us a pretty long ankle bone, but it's okay, we'll exaggerate that, and that's gonna come back down. The other side will be over here. All right, so it's got his hip bones here, and that will arrive at a feet. That comes out to be something around here. That puts the other feet on the other side, something like that. It's pretty big. I mean, it's pretty exaggerated. I'll fix that up in a second here, but something like that. I don't know if that looks cool or not. Let's see. His arm, shoulder is here. This is one arm. Yeah, I think the back leg has to be adjusted. It's too long, the ankle. But the reason why I'm trying to do this is so I can stabilize him. Basically, he doesn't need to. Oh, this sort of works. This sort of works. I'll put the other bone here. That way, his arm doesn't have to take the weight. Because the previous one, the reason why it looks like a Olympic runner is because his hand is supporting his body. It looks like his leg's about to go off. Like bam, he's gonna run the 100 meters. This one, his legs are supporting his body now, so therefore all the weight could be taken off his arms, allowing me to restructure his pose but a bit. Let's flip it. This guy's like, you know, digging for something in the backyard. Bam, bam, bam. That thumb, having a cigarette. Put that there. Have fun with this kind of stuff. Remember, it's Photoshop. You can erase everything. So it's, as you design, you can have a lot of fun with this kind of thing. Okay, rotate. Radius in there. So this guy, I'm gonna start adding other bones to it, right? So the whole point is that he collects other bones. So let's draw the other arm first. Other side. Should be somewhere here. Elbow. Okay, close enough. This guy's kind of coming in and just. He doesn't have to put weight on this arm, but he needs to just to stabilize him just a tiny bit. But no weight, so his fingers could be nice and relaxed. Kind of just barely on the floor there. There's actually a little bit of weight. You could try this yourself too. If you like kind of squat on the floor, you could just hold yourself with probably one finger. You could hold yourself up, but there's still energy being distributed into that finger, but not much of it. Your hip and knee is taking out most of that energy. So that's his knee right here. That's gonna go in, and here's his leg right here, and feet. And it's gonna go there. This one's gonna be here. I wonder if the clients want him to have a weapon or something. How does this guy kill you? Just smashes you with his hands, maybe? We could try a version later where we give him some kind of like a cleaver or something, and something that just freaky, I think. Alright, those guys are squatting. So let's add the other arms to him. Now that I start drawing this, I'm starting thinking, oh man, maybe he doesn't have to be completely skeletonized. Maybe he's half kind of, you know, those mummified humans they find high up in the mountains. Like they're definitely mummified basically, but they still have their skin on them. But there's no more fat or human tissue, like barely anything left. So they're skinny as a skeleton, but they're still wrapped in the skin. So maybe that's something we could try later as a look. So part of them is skeletonized, and then part of them, like his arm and legs, maybe it's more like stretched skin. All right. And by the way, this kind of conversation, where else can you have this kind of conversation? You know, this is entertainment industry where you could talk about how to stretch skin across a skeleton and you get paid to do it for a job. I mean, this is most bizarre. I still get tripped out sometimes when I'm on the phone with clients and you're talking just the weirdest, crazy stuff that if someone recorded your conversation, they could probably report you to the FBI for just the insane stuff you talk about, like, oh, how should we, make the dragon chew the guy up when the guy's riding on a horse and the dragon swoops in and pulls him off the horse and throw him 100 miles into the distance. You know, it's like, what the heck are you talking about, man? But that's what you do for entertainment. So it's bizarre. It's bizarre stuff. All right. Let's draw the, dude, we're like almost 50 minutes in. Whew, time is flying by, man. Holy cow. I don't know how many sketches I could get before you guys get bored of this. Maybe we should just talk like current affairs or something, keep you guys entertained, or maybe share some industry stuff. Q&A's got to be coming soon, so I gotta get someone to compile all the questions first though. And nobody here has time these days right now. They're just super busy running around doing stuff. All right, let's add the little arms in. So maybe it's got little arms. Let's see, what should we add it? Let's see. Maybe it's got like little arms coming off his side. Let me just try it. It could look stupid, but let's try. Like these are like actual real human arms here. Yeah. I don't know that works or not. I don't know. Let's see. Like they're kind of bound to him and they work too, so they animate. Maybe some come off his chest, which will look way cooler. Actually, that's part of my thumbnail I did, like, here. Man, little hand right there, kind of freaky. Little hand right here. How would a skeleton smoke a cigarette? You just go and go right outside the jaws. Okay. Let's see. Draw a little hand here. Let's draw. These hands still have tissue on them, so that way we could distinguish that from his skeletal hands. Little hand there. It's kind of cool. It's like almost like a shrimp. You know, the bottom of a shrimp. They have those like 10 or 12 little legs, and they wrap up. When they're dead, they're kind of wrapped up. When they're alive, they kind of move in a wave-like fashion. So maybe we could animate this guy's hand doing that, or maybe doing like the Mr. Burns thing, you know, like like rubbing itself. Gollum, I think Gollum did something like that as well. Okay, like the thinking I'm so evil kind of thoughts type of thing. Okay, that's this guy here. Negative space is here. What the heck is that? Okay, that's, oh, I see, that's, wait, what is that? It's nothing. Okay, this is the elbow or the arm. That's a negative space. That's the hip. Just trying to get his silhouette defined right now. Don't lose that. All right, so we got these guys. So you can see this is becoming, I mean, let me kill the cigarette so it doesn't look so silly. But this is sort of the in-between now. This is version 2, right? This is safe, client safe. Now client safe, and little bit of injection with the little arms. And they could simply, the cool thing is they could be like, hey, I like the design, but don't like the little arms. So at least you can just take the little arms out and you're set. So, all right. I think what I'll do at this point is let me go off and sketch a few more, because I think you guys seen how this comes together. I'll go sketch, I don't know how many more. I'll spend next maybe hour or so sketch. I'll probably get another 4 or 5 sketched in there to show you guys, and then we'll render some of those up slightly so they're presentable. and we called that a nice episode for 85 at least. Yeah, and next week we'll get into characters. We'll probably do something very similar. We'll do like, maybe we'll do the guy who hunts this guy, right? The warrior dude that's gonna go and fight this guy. He's gonna be about this tall over here. So we'll design him maybe next week, which would be pretty cool. And try to make our own take on it. If this guy should be like looking up at him. It's like, whoa, man. Shield and stuff. For now, we don't have to worry about it. Bam, sword. Anyways, we'll deal with him next week. Bam. Little guy about to step in. His actually should be in the energy swing. Sword should be like that. This should be down here. So you can see passes shield. Give him some class simulation as well. Bam. Yeah, so we'll deal with him next week. It'll be kind of fun. We'll do like male female versions or something like that. Okay, so all right, so let me pause the video here and go off and draw for an hour, and I'll be back and I'll show you all the stuff we could draw in an hour. And yeah, let's do that. So let me stop this video now. Hey everybody, and I am back. Through the magic of time travel of the internet, I have completed the drawings, and let's show you what I have done. So I'm in real time, but I've skipped about 3 hours, 3.5 hours of sketching and cleanup. So last I left you guys, we were at the rough stage for this mystical creature. I chose the 2 that I liked and put it here, and let me just show you the other ones that I have sketched out. I believe it's this one here and this one over here. So they're about the same level of roughness. So here's another guy kind of sitting like this guy, squatting, and I changed the camera angle slightly so you can see a little bit more of his little arms. You see the middle right here. Let me switch my pen color real quick. In about this area, kind of cool, little shrimpy things, made them kind of creepy looking. And then I tried another version which just had a multiple arms. So you have one arm coming out, and then you have these 2 little arms coming out. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a guy that is completely deformed, but still within the spec of the giant human skeleton. This is our speedrunner 100-meter dash skeleton getting ready to run the Olympics, and our squatting dude. So, and I also threw in, as you notice, we have a bunch of blank space over here. I threw in the sketches I did for my students yesterday, actually, for the demo, which is another mythological creature called the Jurogumo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is a half spider, half woman. Now, in the traditional sense, I think the expected design will be you have a spider. Let me make sure I do this on a new layer so I don't screw this up. You have a spider body, and then on top of it you get a some kind of female form. Instead, decided to change this design a little bit to, again, not breaking the spec, but can we approach it from a not really a scientific thing, since this thing doesn't really exist, but sort of a more logical way that this could happen, perhaps. That maybe the myth comes from a creature that can actually do this without turning it into an actual woman on top of a spider. So let me show you the sketches of that. Boink. And these are rough as well, and I'll clean all these up to show you what they look like. So here's the 4 versions. So let me just go through and explain what these designs really is about. The idea is that it's a half spider, half woman. So I thought, you know, to lure men or something like that, right? Like travelers on the road go, hey, there's a beautiful woman, and let's see what happens, and the spider comes and kills you. So I thought, okay, like, how do we design that in a different way to approach it, so it sort of explain how the spider actually goes about this. So I have a couple solutions, and the 2 major solutions are, one is mimicking, and 2 is actually taking the kind of a corpse in a way, and keeping the body, I guess, still soft by injecting maybe some kind of liquid inside, kind of like formaldehyde or something, some kind of preservative, and using that essentially as bait. So so you can see here, so our first one here, this is a mimic. Let me get another pen over here. So the spider obviously is over here, and the spider has arms that towards the end of the first set of arms, it turns to something that looks like a female leg. You have these smaller arms that look like a female arm, and here is a part of a corpse, maybe that's injecting, so sort of hanging on his chest, or maybe it's holding it up. So you can sort of form a rough version of a female body. So for someone maybe in the dark of the night, the spider hides in a bush somewhere and then kind of just wiggle the leg around and attract some soldier guy or something like that, and then pounces out and kills him. And the rest of these three are essentially similar concepts. This is also a corpse idea. So this is a kind of a unfortunate woman that was killed, and then the spider now is injecting some kind of formaldehyde and using its claws to almost puppeteer this character. So you got the little arms over here, little arms from the spider itself, puppeteering this corpse and animating it as a piece of bait. This one over here is a mimic. So this is the similar concept as the upper left one. Kind of crazy. So the spider is back here, and it has these little forearms that looks like a female leg. Try to make it all walk sexy and things like that. And these two arms are holding the rest of the body up, just about here. So crazy design. And the last one is a kind of combination of all of it. Got the corpse. I put a little baby here, which is kind of creepy, because in the original fairy tale version, there's actually some, I think the woman holds a baby, and then if you get close to it, the little spider comes out. It's just really creepy stuff, but it's awesome. As an entertainment piece of design, pretty awesome. So let me show you how I clean these up. So this is just a rough drawing. Each one took about 10 minutes or something like that to sketch up. Let me open up the cleanup version. Come on, doink. Okay, so let me close this one. Don't need that no more. All right, so here's the line drawing cleanup. Not super clean, but enough, I think, for design cinema for the purposes of this tutorial. I just went in there, kind of kept it rough. I kind of want the old school pen and ink look, so I kept the brush really big. The brush I use is this little calligraphy brush over here, basically that one right there, and kind of used a little bit of the darkness to just graphically extract some of the forms to give it a certain look. So here's the squatting guy with all these little arms. Here's the guy running the 100-meter race. This dude with all the little arms sticking out in various directions. And our other squatting guy, he's got some little deformed arms coming out of his elbow and stuff. So these two are kind of similar to each other in that sense, and some crazy hair. Here are the spider characters now cleaned up a little bit. So you can see this one mimicking or manipulating the dead figurine over here. This is the mimic. So you can see the way this works. Let me change my color to red so it's easy to see. So this is the leg of the spider. The other one will be on the other side. And essentially it's doing that, and this part of the corpse is actually being held up by this little spider arm. So when the person gets close to this, lifts this arm up, two claws come up, and bam, you're the next victim. Here's another one, kind of animated corpse, kind of trying to hide the head maybe in this one, just kind of the hair and all the teeth are all kind of together. I did this on purpose, so notice the girl is in a kind of a suggestive pose, right? So maybe some guys like, dude, man, are you okay, man? So all this will be like some trees or brush or something like that, and then they'll come and try to brush the hair apart, and of course you expose the giant teeth, and the fangs go and it kills the guy or something like that. That's sort of the idea. And this one is also a mimic. You have the leg here, sort of a part of a torso, and a spider arm that looks like female hands halfway through, so you can actually mimic it. And there are actually things like that in nature, right? You have the mimic spiders, essentially actually has mimic spiders. The ones that look like ants actually exist in nature. So anyways, that's these guys. So we have 8 of them, and let me just try all the layers to show you. I just put a little bit of presentation on these guys, so we could show them as a piece of concept art. So just a little bit of ink, a little bit of marker, and that's about it. So they're at least showable to the audience. Hopefully this will look okay on the YouTube's compression, because YouTube tends to blow out some of the whites. But you guys could grab this PSD file, not PSD, I guess high-res JPEG from my Facebook page. Just look me up. And yeah, this was fun. This was a fun little thing. Finally back to design cinema again, recording and getting this stuff in front of you guys. Hopefully we could do the Q&A maybe for the next one, along with the character design, which would be really fun. We'll choose another subject matter that's entertaining, and just like this one, I chose it on purpose. I think it's fun to practice. It's a little bit more easy in terms of sketching. You don't have to follow excuse me, hardcore specs and things like that, just to give it a practice. So hope you guys, weekends coming up, go to Wikipedia, type in Japanese mythical creatures. You can find a bunch of them. Actually every single culture in the existence of history has these mythological type of things in them. The Greeks had a ton of them, the Egyptians, right? Everybody, Africa has a tons of these, Asia has a ton of them as well. So maybe you could use that as a jump start to start sketching this weekend. So all right, man. So thank you guys so much again for watching and being patient with me. I know that it's been a long time since we recorded an episode, but it's because of you guys that I'm doing this for. You guys are always so great in the comment sections. And so yeah, thanks again for subscribing and watching our channel. And I will see you guys again in episode 86. Until then, have a great weekend. This is Feng Zhu signing out. Bye-bye.